When you walked in the door today, you should have gotten your raft essay question assignment, and it should be glued on page 74 in your interactive notebook. And while you're gluing that, I'm going to start talking about this writing assignment. First of all, has anyone ever heard of a raft writing assignment? Have you done that before, Jonas? Okay. RAFT is actually an acronym, and the R stands for role, and the role is whoever the presenter is. So this, instead of you presenting as a student to your teacher as how you usually write an essay question, you are actually going to take the role of one of the three types of rocks that we've learned about, and you have your choice in that. Okay, so for example, if you choose the role of an igneous rock, the A in RAFT stands for a geologist. So that igneous rock would write one of these things to a geologist. Okay, so I have chosen your role, your audience, and your topic, but the format is something that you can decide what you want to do. Okay, and I'm actually going to add a format onto here. If you would all write it in, I'm going to actually add letter. So you can also write a letter. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this RAFT assignment. First of all, this is the essay question on your test, which is tomorrow. I'm giving it to you a day in advance in case you want to work on it tonight. And if you don't want to work on it tonight, then at least you know what to expect for tomorrow and you know how to prepare for it. Okay? But you can come in with it completely done tomorrow, and then all you have to do tomorrow are your 30 multiple choice questions, okay? Because this will take care of the last 10 points for your test. Your 30 multiple choice questions are worth 3 points apiece. So those are worth 90. The RAFT assignment is worth 10, and that is where your 100 points comes in, okay? You're not going to be doing this in your notebook like we do most assignments. You're going to do it on a separate piece of paper. You can get a piece from me if you need one, but just on a piece of lined paper. If you do it tonight and you'd rather type it, that's fine. Okay? You can start it tonight, finish it tomorrow in class, do the whole thing tonight, or you can do the whole thing tomorrow, but just know that you have limited time tomorrow in class to work on this because you do have to do the rest of your test. Okay? JP, I'm going to take questions at the end. Okay, see if I cover what you're going to ask. Okay? So, if you decide to do this row, that means that you're going to pretend like you're an igneous rock, and we're kind of like personifying a rock. And this rock is presenting to a geologist how I formed and my characteristics. And you can present that in a skit, not saying that you're going to act it out, but you would write out what the skit would be. So you would write out what the dialogue would be in the skit, what people would be doing in the skit. Or you could do a diary entry. I know diaries are usually private, but this geologist would be able to read your diary entry about how you formed and your characteristics. You could do a blog. Now, a lot of people in my other class, they weren't really understanding what a blog is. Have you guys ever read somebody's blog before?
Facebook.
Okay. Well, and that's why I added letter to it, because you might want to go with the format of a letter. A blog is something that somebody writes about a specific topic that they're, very interested in. Like, I read people's cooking blogs a lot to get recipe ideas. I read other teachers' blogs that teach middle school science so that I can get, bounce ideas back and forth. So a blog is just kind of like an informational writing about something, and in this case, it would be about this topic, okay? I will answer questions at the end, okay? If you don't want to do this one, maybe you want to do a sedimentary rock. In this case, you would have to persuade, this is a persuasive argument, persuade other rocks that you are the best rock. Why I am the best rock. Remember, your audience this time would be other rocks. You're pretending like you're writing this for other rocks. Okay? So with a sedimentary rock, you have to use persuasive language on why sedimentary rocks are the best. What characteristics do they have that would make them the best? Okay? If you would like to choose a metamorphic rock, we just learned about metamorphic rocks this week with our candy lab that we did. Your audience is the same, other rocks, but this time your topic is about changing. It can either be I will change, it can be I have changed. Like maybe you've already gone through the change or you're going to change, because we know metamorphic is a changed rock. But this time your format would be in a song. So you could write like stanzas for a song. You could do an interview if you wanted. An interview, if you've ever read somebody's interview before, there's like question and an answer. So you could pretend like you're interviewing other rocks and answering their questions, you know, and what would the answer be to that? Or it could be in a poem, if you want to write, if you like to write poetry. The length, I'm not going to give you like how long this has to be. So I'm not going to say it has to be like 3 paragraphs or 3 stanzas long, or you have to have 10 interview questions or anything like that. All I'm asking is that you cover the requirements that are at the bottom of your page. And as long as you include these requirements, you can earn your 10 points. So those requirements are, did you include the characteristics of that type of rock? So when you think about an igneous rock, what are the characteristics of an igneous rock that we've learned about? How do you know when you look at one that it's igneous? What characteristics do they have? No, not with an igneous rock, they're not in layers. No, for a metamorphic rock they are. That is a characteristic you'd use for that one. But what did we learn about igneous rocks, Jack? Good. So I would look for crystallization. I would look for extrusive qualities like holes. Remember that? Holes or very small crystals or glassy. Do you remember obsidian? Okay. So you need characteristics. Sedimentary rocks, characteristics, you know, a lot of times they're organic with, like this one has shells in it, or they're made from pebbles and sand. The other thing that I'm looking for is, did you include the processes that formed that rock? Yesterday we did a sheet. Can you just wait a minute? Yesterday we did a sheet on processes. Remember this? We did checklists. And so you need to include how sedimentary rock formed, what processes. So we're looking for weathering and compaction. We're looking for cooling and solidifying, heat and pressure, all of those processes that formed the rocks, okay? In your writing, whatever you decide to do, I need to see 2 examples, which means names of that type of rock. So I want to see specific names. Granite, sandstone, gneiss, marble, all those specific names, okay? Obviously, you guys, when you are writing, any good writing piece should have proper sentence structure, so you should have complete sentences, capital letters, periods, where appropriate. So if you're writing a song or a poem, I know sometimes you don't use complete sentences for those, but I will take that into consideration that it is that format. But everything else should be in proper language, okay? We're almost done here. The next point you need to have in your writing is, where would I find that type of rock? So you need to tell me that, you know, if you're doing igneous rocks, that they are found near what? Volcanic areas, exactly. And then the last one is, did you follow the format? So did you actually do a persuasive piece, or did you do a letter? Like, did you follow the format that you're supposed to follow? Okay? If you include all that stuff, no matter what you decide to do, you can earn your 10 points. So this is an extremely important checklist to keep in mind as you're doing your writing. Okay? We are not actually going to perform this stuff. We're not actually going to be singing the songs. Unless we do it, you know, next week we might pick a couple to showcase. But for the most part, this is just an essay question on a test, just done a little bit differently. Okay? Okay, what are your questions? Ori.
With the presenter, like a metamorphic rock, would you have to like pick a type of metamorphic?
You could say, you know, I am marble, and you know, you might want to do a specific type. You could.
And does it matter like if the metamorphic rock asks a non-water rock or that rock asks a water rock?
And that doesn't matter. You can decide. David.
So we are allowed to choose the thing.
Yep. You have to choose either this row, and this row. Once you've chosen your row, when you get to this column, then you have to choose your format. Now this format didn't have another choice, but these did. Okay? Yeah.
So like if you're really thinking exam, could you like write a letter to a geologist?
Yes, because I did add letter. So yes, you are writing a letter to a geologist. Okay? Evan.
So you can't, like, if you're metamorphic rock, you can't write like a diary entry?
Nope, because metamorphic rocks, these are your choices. Now later on, if we do another raft assignment, I might give you some more choices, but for our first one, we're just gonna go with what's here. Okay? Tommy?
I want to be a metamorphic rock, so I want to do an interview where it says examples of this type of rock. Could I like use an example like a celebrity interview, like yeah, I've been working on a movie with my favorite piece, or something like that?
Yeah, as long as you have the name of the rock, yeah.
Okay.
You should have it. You should have actual names of that type of rock in there. JP?
What if you started typing your essay thing, then you went to class the next day and it was only half done, did you have to write
Yeah.
those?
I guess so, because you can't type the rest of it here. I'm not gonna promise you that you will have that availability tomorrow. Okay? Yes.
For the diary entries, can you do more than one because it doesn't really happen all in one?
Yeah, you could. You could do multiple diary entries.
And would those be for the geologist to read or to?
Yeah, the geologist is going to be reading it.
So you don't have to mention them anywhere in it?
No.
Okay.
No. That's your audience, so that's who's going to be reading it. Okay? Pranav? I'm sorry.
Or I will change it, like doesn't mean what the metamorphic rock will change into.
I will change. Yeah. How do metamorphic rocks change, and what do they change into? Like what was this rock before it was metamorphic? Now how did it change?
And it asks, and then both of us ask.
Yeah, and your questions would be based on these right here. Okay? So you could kind of interview them about the changes that are going to be taking place. Okay?
For the interview, does it have to be just question answers?
Your questions and answers are going to be based on these right here. Can you put in some other things you could, but this is mainly what it's about. Okay? All right. Does everybody feel like they have a good grasp of what to do? All right. It's not really, it's not that much different from just writing an essay question on a test. It's just the format, because this would be my essay question on my test, having you do this part right here. But I'm letting you do it in a different kind of format. But you do have to take into consideration your audience who's reading it. So you're really not going from student to teacher, as you usually are. You're really writing it from a rock to a different